All right, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you are. We are Ready, Set Crypto. Today is the 28th of July, Wednesday. Welcome to Ready, Set Crypto Live. And I'm joined, my name is Doc Severson. I'm joined here with Mav, and welcome aboard, everybody.
Hello, hello. As usual, let us know where you're coming in from. And yeah, we'll get things kicked off pretty soon here. We have a pretty good session today with the market being up and some really exciting stuff to talk about. So yeah, where are you guys coming in from? And yeah, long time no see. Awesome.
Do you want them to hit the like button while they're checking in?
Please.
Okay.
Yeah. Smash that like button.
Smash the like button.
All right. Defeat the evil algorithm.
Yeah, that's right. Let's see. We have Slade coming in from the sunny Gold Coast of Australia. We have Joe, Yo from Liverpool. We have Fairfield, California. We have Zurich, Bay Area of California. Is there going to be a recall? We got Tommy from London. Welcome aboard, everybody. We'll be here until for another maybe 25 minutes or so. We'll finish up by the bottom of the hour. We like to keep things short and sweet. We don't like to waste your time. If you have any questions or if there's any particular pairs that you want to see in my segment to go over a charting analysis of, that's something we typically do every weekend. So we're going to start off with Mav here in a couple of minutes, going over his top issues of the week.
And they are big issues.
They're big issues. All right. So it's also, I do want to walk you through some of the signals that we have been looking at in our Omnia service over the last couple of weeks. That seemingly this move has taken forever to get going, but usually the more something consolidates like this, the bigger the reaction from it. Range contraction in a big way leads to range expansion, which is what we're seeing.
Great question about the upcoming Pulse chain. We'll get to the sort of Q&A session towards the end, but thanks for tuning in here. And I think we'll kick things off here, talk a little bit about, well, just the performance from last week. I mean, what's happened over the last 7 days has been, you know, a lot of up, a little bit of down, but mostly up. And it's been pretty awesome to see Bitcoin above 40,000 again. It's hovering around there right now at the time of this stream, but I think it's definitely proven itself that it's got you know, some legs, that the detractors are wrong once again, and so here we are again. But yeah, let's dig into some of what we were talking about last week, because I thought that was pretty cool stuff. We shared what were really just a smattering of different projects we talked about last week. So here are some of the ones we were digging into last week. And in particular, you know, I talked about Axie Infinity. That one is up 211% from where we talked about it last week. So if you got into that, you're welcome. Also, I talked about the wrong mist. I found out after the fact, but this project still did pretty well. And it was up about 70% from last week. So that's also pretty great. Then Crypto Blades here was also up about 153%. So that is if you notice the trend there with Crypto Blades and Axie Infinity being sort of these NFT gaming platforms, that's what I want to talk about today, because that's what our list is all about. So if you want to follow along with me or research this list on your own time, or if you're on a mobile screen or whatever, go to the link in the bio below that has a little finger pointing towards it. That way you can get access to this direct list, and you don't have to try and squint or take pictures or something like that. You can actually see it on whatever device you're on. So what we'll do is we've got 10 picks here, and we'll quickly go through each of them and why I think they're phenomenal picks for you to consider right now, given the market conditions and just the overall industry trends. If you haven't been part of these streams before, or if it's been a while, this is what we do every week. We look for kind of what's the next big thing in crypto. And as I'm seeing it right now, as the market's heating back up again, and as we're seeing, Bitcoin leading the charge, but now today very much is the case that altcoins are starting to outpace Bitcoin and starting to be the place where you want to start, starting to look into. So this is very converse from where we were about 2 weeks ago, when we were very risk averse and we wanted to stay in large caps as much as possible because we wanted to circle the wagons, be, capital preserving as much as possible. But now that the altcoins are starting to wake up, and hopefully that sustains itself, we'll see some really exciting opportunities start to come to light. So with that, I think one of the coolest trends that I've noticed in the blockchain crypto industry right now is kind of an evolution of the NFT trend that sort of kicked off 2021. If you're not familiar or you don't know about that, NFTs are non-fungible tokens, usually ERC 721s that are, basically like more often than not, it was about art or some sort of collectible, something to that effect. It's like trading cards or, one of a kind pieces of art. And it was cool. There's stuff to like about NFTs, but by about March or so, the hype had sort of died down. And then we went into meme coins and all that stuff. But people moved beyond NFTs because they quickly became just way too much expectations for the reality of things. And yeah, they just got, way oversold and whatnot. But I think what is going to be a cool sort of resurgence of NFTs right now is to combine that sort of original functionality that we saw with like art and collectibles and fuse that with gaming, and, having some sort of element of, there's actual functionality to these NFTs. You're actually able to do something with them. You're able to either win them in games or use them as like a player avatar in some sort of game. I think there's a lot of potential there, especially as the gaming industry has sort of stalled in the recent years. This is a whole new thing that has never really been the case before, is to have digital ownership of in-game assets like this, and then have them be able to move between games or just have definitive ownership over them. So anyways, very cool stuff. And let's dig into a couple that are doing these. This is going to be a very different list versus what we've done before, because I'm bringing back a lot of the ones we talked about, for example, last week. Axie Infinity is one of them. It's definitely one that has skyrocketed since we first talked about it back in March. Back then it was in like the 300s or 400s in market cap, and now it's in the top 50. So it's definitely one of those ones that it's really cool to see how far they've come so fast. And there's a lot of good reasons for them to continue to soak up the spotlight, because they've got a great product. There's a lot to like about it. It's cool what they've got there. And yeah, having watched some gameplay of it, it's not bad. It's doing cool stuff. So definitely that's one I would say is sort of like the shining star right now, that all the other projects are kind of looking to as inspiration. And as we covered last week, there is a sort of complementary token to the AXS token, where AXS is sort of like Ether or ETH, and Smooth Loath Potion. I'm only going to say that one time because I messed it up so many times last week, or SLP. That's sort of the gas token that helps facilitate your playing of Axie Infinity. So they go together, and for SLP to be ranked in the 200s right now, I think is an opportunity, especially given that, as we just talked about, Axie Infinity is down in the top 50. So yeah, I think there's a lot to like there. Now let's move on. We've also talked about Sandbox before, and Sandbox hasn't done a whole lot. Actually, I'm going to switch over to this format. Maybe this will be a little bit easier for you guys to read. Sandbox is, it's all about sort of like digital ownership, almost like digital real estate. And it's something I would say it's an evolution of what like Metaverse tried to build, or Decentraland. You know, it's very cool to see. It's almost like The Sims or something like that, and you're like a digital real estate broker or whatnot, and you I don't know. There's a lot you can do with this stuff, and importantly, you can build games off it. So Sandbox is trying to be, maybe if you're familiar with like Roblox or well, even the Ethereum model, like it's trying to be the Ethereum of gaming for, you know, projects to build off of that, to build NFT and blockchain style gaming projects out of that. And I think that's really cool. I think for there to be sort of a central hub or platform using the lands token to kind of facilitate that. Yeah, I think there's a lot of promise there. And already some of the games that have come out of the Sandbox have been really cool. And yeah, there's a reason why it continues to do pretty well. Moving along, one of my favorite ones that I came across while researching for this is called My Neighbor Alice, under the ticker Alice. And it's very similar to maybe like a Farmville, if you ever played that way back when, or Stardew Valley, or what's the I'm forgetting the Animal Crossing. It's sort of like that. It's set up like, oh, you're a farmer and you make it a farm, and you get to like get the benefits of that farm. You get paid from the digital farm that you put together. I think it's just really cool. I think it's one of those things that maybe your mom or grandma can like passively play.
Are we going to have a South Park episode on that one too?
Oh yeah. I think it's just a better model versus like the data harvesting, you know, Facebook model where, you know, you are the product. Here, you actually get to really own your own digital farm and you know, go out and make little iterative changes to it and, you know, make it how you want it. I think it's cool. I think there's a lot to like there. And another thing I want to mention while we're kind of going through this list is that one of the things that blockchain and crypto really needs is like a good adoption catalyst, right? It needs that sort of like iPhone, social media, Facebook moment where, you know, pre 2004 to 2007, like the internet was just kind of like a collection of geeks and nerds and people with like pets.com and stuff like that. It had promise, but it just didn't have the applicability to the everyday person. Then suddenly, you know, the mid 2000s roll around, and with the advent of making the internet ubiquitous, you know, helping it get into everyone's lives so easily with things like smartphones, that was sort of that moment. And so we're sort of looking for the same thing to happen here in the crypto blockchain space. And this could be one of the best catalysts for doing so, having a space for, you know, just even casual gaming to be sort of this, you know, new concept, this new paradigm to expose people to of digital ownership, you know, having their own digital farm, for example. That could be something really impactful for people, especially as we're spending more time at home. People are, you know, just in general moving more into the digital space. This could be, you know, a really good catalyst for that. So I know it can be kind of like comical to like look at this stuff and be like, really, is anyone playing this game? Really, is this ever going to do anything? Is this really worth investing in? Maybe. I'm going to definitively say that this list is very risky in terms of just, we don't know where it's going to go. But I think this is a good sort of venture as it relates to the larger space, just because it's so easy to make the sell to people, to say like, hey, you could own this stuff. You don't have to keep paying or, you know, sacrificing your data or whatnot. So anyways, let's briefly go through the last couple ones on here. Yield Guild Games. Oh man, that's even worse than Smooth Love Potion. This one is sort of like it almost reminded me of like the Raid Shadow Legends that was all over YouTube about a year ago or so. It's very much just like a stand-up, you know, pick your team and have them battle out and stuff like that. It's interesting. It's cool. Illuvium is also kind of like that. It's an RPG adventure kind of game. You know, you're going through, I don't know, it's a little interesting. They've got some good art on their website, so definitely wanted to check out. Crypto Blazes, we talked about last week, is really just kind of a, it's I would say kind of like a peer-to-peer or like PvP kind of style entertainment. I don't know. It's all about you know, trying to win the different battles that you're in. Same with Wall Street Games, which is very interesting name they went with. I wouldn't have chosen that if I were in their position. But this one is sort of like, it's almost like 1v1 gambling. You're going out in a game of skill against this other person you don't know, and that's how you accumulate the WSG token. So it's an interesting one. It's definitely in kind of the bargain bin as far as I'm concerned right now of NFT gaming projects, but it's still one to consider. The last one, which is the correct mist. We talked about a different mist last week. This is the one I actually should have been talking about, because I think this one is very exciting. And yeah, there's just like a lot of really cool games and functionality coming out of this token. This one, I believe, is, or one of these is backed by, it's Gala Games. I totally missed this one. Gala Games is from the guys who made like, what was that from Zynga? What was that like game that was all over the place where you like shot the ball and does anyone remember that? you like pop the never mind. It was everywhere like 5 years ago. I'm sure you guys played it, but yeah, Zynga is one of the biggest mobile games sort of makers in the space, and for them to be going into the NFT gaming space with Gala Games, I think is really cool. So that's one to definitely watch, especially for it to be at rank 185. I think it's got a lot more room to grow. So anyways, that is my list for today. But now let's talk more about the markets, because obviously the big news today is Bitcoin having gone down below 40,000 briefly, with the sort of revelation that, yeah, Amazon maybe isn't getting into crypto as aggressively as an article led us to believe. That was a little disappointing, but I think there's still a lot of really good, exciting things to be watching this space right now. So the market's one of them. So let's talk about that.
Okay, so let's take a look here at the larger markets. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off with BTC versus the US dollar and talk to you about what we went through. So, I mean, everybody, again, what you're doing is when you're investing, you're going against the herd. And if you want different performance than the rest of everybody else, then you've got to make different decisions than everybody else. So some of the data points that we've gone through here, this is a monthly chart on Bitcoin versus the US dollar. So one of the first things that I'll look at with something like this is, as long as the trend remains, I want to stay long in the direction of that trend. And this is about as large a chart as I'll go to. So one of the tools that I will use for this to determine whether or not we're heading higher or lower is look for fib retracements. It's based on Fibonacci retracements. These are well-known numbers where the price will typically react. And the most important ones are 38.2, 50%, which somebody's going to correct me in a minute and say that's not a fib number, but that's okay. But we do see 50% happen a lot. And then here's the last line of defense. You can think of this as the moat around the castle, that when you're in a primary uptrend like this, you never want to see, especially a larger time frame chart like the monthly chart, exceed 61.8% drop of the initial swing. So if this is the initial swing, then what this is saying is that this is a 61.8% retracement. So what we typically find is, as long as that holds as support, then we're good to go. We still have a primary uptrend in place. Now, what you also see on this here is that this is a linear chart of BTC versus the US dollar. So all this stuff that's over here back in 2014, 2015, you can barely see it because this is a linear scale, but price doesn't move like that. The higher up that we go, the bigger the moves we get. And so this is why we're going to use the log chart on something like this. So let's get these fibs out of here, if I can. There we go. We removed it. So this is a monthly chart. Notice how the price now is on an exponential scale. So this is where BTC was $3 and $4 and $5, and it went all the way up on that first swing to about $11.50 or so. Then we had the next correction. Then the next swing that began in 2015 ended up at the very end of 2017. And you can see how all of these moves are kind of the same thing. So what we're seeing is range expansion go to range contraction. Then the next swing, range expansion goes to range contraction for 3 years. And then here's the next swing. So this is what I was saying last week. If you remember last week's session that we went through, is this a downtrend? No, it's not a downtrend. It's just a downswing. And using the log chart, which is right down here in TradingView, will allow you to see things like this. And sort of, it's difficult when you have the price dropping from 65,000 to 28,000. It's very difficult to not go with the crowd and say, oh my God, this is dropping like a stone. I've got to get out now. This is 2017, 2018 all over again. And it's very important to separate your financial decisions from those that you make with that dinosaur brain that we all have, that little lizard brain that runs around in your cerebral cortex, right? Which makes emotional decisions and does the fight flight sort of stuff. So those are two very powerful tools, is using the log chart, using fib retracements. And then as we go down to smaller timeframes, we can see more clarity in the move. We can see what's happening here, that we had a trend to the downside on the weekly chart, but we can also see that what would have to happen for this to reverse. And so this is why we use different time frames. Some of the things that we also saw with this was in the world of volume profile. So this is kind of an obscure technique for technical analysis, where what we're doing is we're looking for the volume which is traded at a certain price. Now, this is sort of the abyss that we had here. If the price continued lower than about 28,000, not only was it going to undercut that 61.8% retracement, but also moves that go down through very low volume like this tend to happen very quickly. So the price was going to tumble very quickly down to 24,000 and then 20,000. So this is what made this level so important for it to hold. So understand volume profile. I don't use it all that often, but what it also shows on the other side here is if the price is able to break out about 41 to 42,000, it will have no overhead resistance to go through. So if we're able to see the price break, and what I'd like to see is actually a small consolidation here before it does that. This is like running your way up a mountain, right? So it's worthwhile to take a little base camp break here and then go for it. But if we see the price break about 41,000, we should see a very rapid move up to about 46,000. And then the next point after that is going to be 56,000. It's not going to go there in a straight line. We're going to pull back. We're going to retrace. We're going to retrench, things like that. But these are three tools that you can use. There's tons of other ones that we used as well too, like seeing positive divergence all the way through this move, which gave us sort of a signal or reading between the lines of what's happening. Since we don't really have that much in the way of market internals, that's really what we do at ReadySet Vision, is look at on-chain analysis to understand the market internals for the crypto market. Okay, so for that, we are using, I'm not going to bother going through the rest of these ones here today because everything is we actually have a good chart today in Ripple. For as much fun as I've made of Ripple over the last few years, this one's actually doing quite well today. And we did have a request from Slade for Solana. Let's see if I can find that in my watch list. I know it's somewhere in here. I've probably already passed it. There we go, right there. Okay, so what's going on with Solana? Same kind of thing here. We have some very strong volume profile down here, which was able to stay above that level. So dropping below the abyss of 24. So this is good. Now, rule number 3 of fractal energy trading says that descending patterns like this will eventually break to the upside. So what I would want to see is a break above about 32 for this one. And this could have a lot of power behind it as well too. If we go out to our fractal energy indicator with this, we certainly have a lot of energy coiled up at the weekly chart is quite massive. So seeing this break above about 32 would be my key towards that one. Now let's see, K King was asking for Atom versus the US dollar. So I don't think that is in my watch list right now. So let's go over and see if we can find this. There's Atom versus US dollar. Let's take the Coinbase version of this. You know, my comments are going to be almost exactly the same here. We have a fair amount of exhaustion actually to the downside here. So if this breaks above, I'd say about 15. If we see a break above 15 on Atom versus the US dollar, right now it's in a weekly downtrend, which I'd like to see reversed first before I go into that one. So breaking above 15 on the weekly chart, well, it doesn't matter what chart it is, but it shows on the weekly chart that pivot about $15 is what I'd like to see before I invest in it. Okay, a couple of other ones, and then I'll turn it over to final questions here. Let's see. OPCT. I've never looked at that one before. Let's see if I can find it. OPTC, so that's opacity. I'm going to look at this versus Tether at this point. Okay, so that's a good weekly chart. So that's something that was literally a miserable chart with a lot of energy is now broken out to the upside. So this one actually looks pretty good for opacity. However, I would not jump after this one until we get a consolidation showing up at the weekly chart, which doesn't have enough candles for me to even do an analysis on. So this is relatively new. So what I would look for before you jump on opacity is I would look for like a flag pattern like this, where we see some consolidation into this. I never want to see people jump in to a FOMO coin with no energy in it. So that one actually is looking to start looking pretty good here. Okay, if you have a request for a coin, please give me the pair. Please give me the pair for it. Okay, so next one, I'll just do a couple other ones here. SNX. So we'll do SNX versus Tether. This one's pretty sloppy. As you can see, this one is still in a weekly downtrend. Still in a weekly downtrend. So for that to break out, I want to see a break above 14 on that one. I want to see a break on 14. Otherwise, you're just buying a declining asset. So make the market prove it to you first before you invest in something. It's easier to buy things that are going higher in price. Right now, if you want to short it, this is going lower in price. Okay, let's see. Cardano. So ADA, Cardano. This one's building up pretty well too, but it's still in somewhat of it hasn't moved all that much. Hasn't moved all that much. We've gotten kind of a weak bounce off of here. This is still in a primary downtrend. So I would want to see this break above 1.5 versus US dollar before I consider this one. Otherwise, it's still kind of going nowhere. Okay, and let's look at Matic. Okay, Matic is showing almost exactly the same thing. This is still in it's a good start, but it's still in a downtrend. Still in a good, okay, another one was Front. And this is on Binance. Another very poor looking coin at this point, right? So just pull it back to a weekly chart and ask yourself, is this a downtrend or an uptrend? It's clearly still a downtrend, and I'm not a big believer in trying to pick a bottom on these things. So dollar cost averaging is great if you're going to use something and buy into the dips, things like that. But buying something because you think it's going to go higher, the price is not showing that to be the case. Okay, one last one here, Trias, and then we'll hang it up for today. Okay, so Trias versus Tether. Let's look at that one. Kind of the same thing here. I'm looking at the weekly chart. Looks like it might be bouncing off the bottom, but I really don't see any kind of momentum here, yet. So we're seeing a 5-day rally, but it's really not that. When you compare this versus what's happening with BTC, which one is stronger? Yeah, it's pretty clear to see that BTC has got a lot of power behind this and also a lot of volume coming in at the same time. So This one is clearly making the transition to an uptrend right now, or it's off to a very, very good start, as are some of these other ones in the top 10. All right, guys, we're going to move along and finish it up with our, what do we call that? The lightning round, you know? We'll do the lightning round here for any last questions that are coming in.
So several people definitely pointed out that I missed a very good project for my top 10 list, and I would very much agree with them. UOS, or Ultra Gaming, is looking to be sort of the next Steam and to be a decentralized Steam, basically, and have the capability to like build off their platform and launch gaming, games and things of that sort. So yeah, I highly recommend that one. I think that's one definitely worth checking out, in addition to all the ones I talked about at the beginning of the stream. So yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there. Let's take one more question, maybe. Potential Uniswap collaboration with PayPal. It's kind of the first I'm hearing of that, but I did see that Uniswap dropped a bunch of tokens from their platform, and they also stopped pursuing tokenized securities, aka stocks, on their platform. So that would, to me, you might see that as like face value. Oh no, Uniswap is struggling, or they're going under, or something like that. To me, that sounds like they're cleaning house to entertain, a more legitimate partnership with someone like a PayPal. Is that confirmed? I'm not sure. Yeah, it says they're talking with PayPal. So that would be really cool. I think that would be one way for PayPal to get in the game, and definitely a lot more, I'd say, crypto friendly versus like the Amazon approach that we were reading about a couple days ago with Bezos bucks and all that good stuff. So yeah, I'm hoping that might be a consideration for them. But anyways, cool. Anything else? Pulse chain. Pulse chain is like, to my understanding, is sort of the gas of the new hex chain, and it remains to be seen if one will be, I guess, preferred over the other. I don't know. I have to look into this more. But yeah, it seems interesting, especially if they're doing a fork of Ethereum. Would that be advantageous as Ethereum's going into its EIP 1559 like a week, and Ethereum 2.0 later this year? Who knows? It's sort of anyone's game right now. So it's kind of fun to see. It's the Wild West of crypto all over again. But yeah, let's close things up here, guys. So as always, thanks so much for watching. We got a ton of free resources down in the bio below, including, for example, the list we talked about earlier in the stream. That is part of our brand new service, ReadySet.vision, which is almost to 1,000 members. Please help us get there, because it's free to join, and it talks about how to do on-chain analysis, as Doc was mentioning earlier. Basically, how to kind of like read the matrix code of the crypto markets, like see between the lines and outsmart the market using blockchain data, and sort of like, statistical trends and things like that. So
I think it's a great technique, because there's times where a technical analysis just does not make any sense, because it'll be all wound up, ready for a move, but Checkmate is seeing something that I'm not, in terms of, kind of literally opening up the blockchain and understanding the movement in there. So yeah. I think if you're really interested in understanding ways to better invest your money, go check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say the same thing about fundamental analysis. Sometimes it's really great in this industry. Sometimes it just is not. So on-chain analysis is sort of like this brand new third branch of how to evaluate crypto and the markets, and basically just be a better and more successful trader or investor in the space. So definitely worth your time to learn, because I definitely see that's where the smart money's going. But otherwise, if you want to trade the larger markets, the equity markets, Doc is the master of helping you do that in a risk-averse and capital preservation way, using strategies, option strategies. And it's we're still, what's our current win rate?
Oh, it's what the trades that we publish in Ready Set Trade for the members. we're running at about 83% win rate, and the profit factor is close to 3. So for any time that we lose, we're winning 3 times as much as what we lose on there. So we have a very nice high profitability strategy.
Hopefully that shuts up any of the naysayers. We're covering all the bases. I talked about some coins you could have gotten in if you watched our stream last week. That would have been up 200% now. And yeah, we're also doing the equities markets with some very advanced, but also very I would say it's the right way to trade these sort of volatile markets. So if you take the time to actually learn it and stop being sort of a gambler trader and more of a, have a professional approach to things, I think it's well worth your time.
Yeah, I think we do a live trading room for the elite members 5 days a week, the opening hour of the market, and everybody can learn a lot from each other doing that. So watching the market live and explaining it while it's happening is I think kind of a secret skill that people enjoy while they go through it. So
yeah, cool. Well, anyways, this stream has gotten a little bit long in the tooth, so we'll get out of your hair here. But hey, the market's up. It's go time. So hopefully this move can sustain itself, especially as it seems like the larger markets are kind of not doing so much. So we would like to see that crypto can be inverse of that and have its own sort of juice, feeling it. But we'll see where we'll be in a week. But hopefully it's still up, maybe entertaining Bitcoin to 50,000, entertaining some altcoin summer goodness. We'll see. But regardless, I hope you guys are doing well out there and stay safe out there. And we'll see you next week at the same time.
Yeah, thanks everybody for your great questions and for showing up today. Or even if you're watching this on a replay, thank you very much for checking this out. So thanks everybody. We'll see you guys same bat time, same bat channel next week.
Cheers, guys.
Bye now.